But I mean, look, the retool zones when you had this insane temple that, as somebody who grew up reading H.P. Lovecraft, I was like, I'm here. Like, this is, I was all about it, and I just didn't get enough. Do you think that we ever have a potential to really see a zone that feels like that too?
100%. 100% in the future. Like we've dealt with the old gods on Azeroth, and according to Magni, like Azeroth has been cleansed of its corruption. There's always the chance of what we are being shown is not the right thing. Like from the very get-go that you step into Nyalova, like that first boss fight is not actually what's happening here. But at the same time, it is the story that presented to us. But the old gods come from a source, which is the Void Lords, and the Void Lords are still very much waiting out there. So if the old gods can already create such a magnificent tentacle paradise as we saw it, then just imagine what the realm of the Void Lord is going to be like.
For anybody who's like tuning in right now, it's like, man, I love WoW. I have no idea what's going on. What the heck happened in BFA? What's your TLDR to get people up to speed on the recap of BFA?
For Battle for Azeroth, like a really quick one. Sylvanas decided to start a war. Eventually, she lost the war, but not really, because as it turns out, while she was creating this war, she was actually plotting behind the schemes with something called the Jailer. And the Jailer has been feasting on all the souls that she killed and sent his way. And now, before anybody else even has access to covenants, we find out that Sylvanas already has a covenant. And that's kind of what been Battle for Azeroth been like. We made some friends along the way. We saw some people die along the way. And tentacles.
Sylvanas was doing some pretty wacky shit, even with her own troops, making sure a bunch of them died. That's empowering this Jailer. Who the heck is this mother chucker? Who is the Jailer?
I wish I could tell you, but we don't know.
We have no idea, right? Like he's just some sort of deity.
Yeah. To take this back, there was a lot of speculation about who is the Jailer, and they've actually come forth and said, like, look, it's really fun that you're speculating, like, is this Arthas? Is this a Titan? But pretty much the Jailer is going to be a being, an entity that we haven't seen before, which is really, really awesome in my opinion. It's a lot more fun if something is kept in the shadows and be like, oh, what is this? What is the motivation? What's going on here? So what exactly the Jailer is, we do not know. What is going on here is that you might remember from Sylvanas. Sylvanas has been turned into the Banshee by Arthas the Lich King. And during WoW's time, classic up to the end of Wrath of the Lich King, Sylvanas was all about, I want my revenge, right? She wanted to kill the Lich King, which she did. And her mission was kind of over. And then the question became like, okay, what do we do with Sylvanas? What do we do with the Forsaken now? Because their whole motivation and goal was done. And they decided to give her a beautiful short story, which is called Edge of Night. And in that short story, we can play the video later of it as well, as we're watching the beautiful Shadowlands cutscene right now. But in that short story, we find out that Sylvanas, she's had enough. Like what joy can be found in this afterlife of torment. She decided to jump off the top of Icecrown and end it all. By doing so, Sylvanas kind of ended up in hell. Or at least the Warcross version of it, which is most likely going to be the Maw. And in the Maw, in hell, she ended up in like this realm of torment. She was not having a good time. She even saw Arthas' spirit there, like a little boy, reaping the aftermath of a lifetime of mistakes. Sylvanas was not doing too well. And in come the beautiful Valkyr, those that were, connected to the Lich King, and they offered her a deal. Like, we'll take your place in hell. We'll get you out of here. We'll even give you like the bonus lives. We'll give you the ability to create more Forsaken. We'll give you the ability to postpone your inevitable afterlife in hell. And Sylvanas took the deal. She got out of the Maw, she got out of hell, and she's been doing her things since the Cataclysm. And now they've added with the Shadowlands that not only is the moment where she made the bargain with the Valkyr, apparently this is also the moment that she came into contact with the Jailer.
You know what confuses the heck out of me too, though, is like I kind of get it, but I didn't get to play the game, so I wasn't sure if there were any hints of it. When you look at the map and everything's like completely separated, right? How is this all connected? Like this realm?
Oh, And for those wondering, by the way, this is handmade by Kalis. It's called Edge of Night, and it's gorgeous. The way it works is if you die, you first go to Orbos, which is like it's going to be your new capital. There you meet something called the Arbiter. And the Arbiter is like this creature that looks at your soul, and within a flash second, they can judge who you are, what you were, and where you belong. From there, you're sent off to whatever pocket dimension in the Shadowlands you belong to. They are connected to one another. As I mentioned before, Maldraxxus is able to invade something like Bastion, but they are their little pocket dimensions, so to say.
Yeah, so like wormholes basically is how you get to them. Like that was the thing that I was like, it's actually interdimensional travel to get from zone to zone.
I mean, we are talking about literally walking in the afterlife. So any reason how you are transported between them, insert here, ain't it?
Yeah. So I just wanted to highlight that. Like, it's going to feel different other expansion zones, right? Like, as we actually move through it, like there's some real potential here for it to be just like you said, wild, basically. Like it can feel really wild.
Dude, there should be a button like show in the model viewer. It's so good. But all of the sets, like I don't know which of the artists in the team actually play cloth wielders, but whoever they are, they have a they have a very nice taste. I have not seen a cloth set that I disliked so far.
I've always felt that way about cloth too. I feel like cloth is always the proficiency that doesn't miss. I actually totally agree with you. And like, you know what I like about the cloth gear too? They're always like, you know what? We won't stick to making it look clothy. They're like, if it doesn't look sick, like all I care about is sick. They're like, yeah, we'll make this cloth gear that's actually made out of metal. We do not give a flying hoot nanny. And I've always been down with that. I've always been down. Like the amount of times that it looks like you're wearing like full battle armor as a cloth wielder, and then your little tag just says cloth, by the way. That was some of the most fun that I had in Legion was those mage towers.
Legion was insane at that amount. The amount of content that they put in Legion with the individual order halls and the mount quest and the artifacts and the mage tower, like you mentioned, it was insane.
I think that I got made fun of for being a huge Legion stan throughout the entirety of the expansion, being like, no, this thing's actually pretty sick. We got it pretty good right now. I'm kind of nervous to leave this expansion. I loved Legion.
Legion was amazing.
A lot of people didn't like it at the time, and now have very much come around and been like, it's not so bad. Come back, Legion, please.
You don't know how good you have it until you see Battle for Azeroth,
right. But I'm kind of curious. Did you feel, not to go too far down this, but this is just kind of how I felt. And if you don't want to go into it, that's totally fine. When I got to the last raid tier and was actually in that area, as I already mentioned, that was wanting to be in. I wanted to really experience this giant empire. Did you feel like some stuff got cut as far as gameplay and also storytelling? Like, did you? Because I felt like in a way that I had never felt before. Craft. Like in Legion, I was like, wow, we're getting so much story. We're getting so much. When I got to the very end of BFA, I was like, man, it feels like they just ended up not following through on some of the story and maybe just started investing into everything a little bit earlier on the Shadowlands front.
I think Battle for Azeroth, I remember people asking me when they announced it and release date, people asked me like, Nobbel, do you think it's ready? Like, isn't this too soon? I was like, I don't know. I'll trust Blizzard in thinking like we have a release date, so it must be ready, yeah? I changed my mind on that. I don't think Battle for Azeroth was ready to go when they released it. And the whole final chapter with Nyalova and N'Zoth, in my opinion, they should have saved that for either the next expansion or, as we mentioned earlier, like just begin the expansion with that, but it was too late. N'Zoth and Nyalova feels like an afterthought. You deal with an old god released from its chains in like one single patch. Like, what?
When you were in Wrath, you looked at that box. You know, my dad drove me to the video game store. We stood in line. We're waiting to get Wrath of the Lich King. I get that box and I go, Dad, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. And he was like, my dad, who didn't play WoW at all, went, he looks pretty strong, dude. He looks pretty tough. I was like, I know. And you start questing, and all of a sudden, the Lich King pops up, and he's just like, yo, what's up, you little bitch? Like, I'm gonna destroy your shit. And he like walks away, and you're like, oh no. And you get into the next zone, he's there again. You're getting into dungeons, he's there. And this guy is just taunting you the whole time. And you could not stop. You couldn't stop. You know, like new patch comes out, and you know, you had been in the old one for a little while. You had already gotten the raid down. You already got your best in slot. You're like, man, maybe I should just take a break. Maybe I should go outside. And then the Lich King's like, yo, yeah, you gonna quit? I knew it, dude. And you're like, no, I'm coming back. I'm gonna destroy your shit. And that was powerful. And you know what happened? When I finally got an ICC and got him down, it's still, and I'm not saying this in like a dramatic sense at all. I'm really not saying this in, it is truly one of the best moments of my life when I killed the Lich King. There were a lot of things going on with like server first and things like that, but I felt genuinely this sense of the achievement. It wasn't excitement, right? Like there was excitement when I got my legendary items in Legion. I didn't feel accomplished. I didn't feel rewarded. I felt that quick hit of dopamine where I was like, I pulled the slot machine and quarters are flying out at my face. Woo! Like it felt good. Don't get me wrong. It was exciting, but killing the Lich King was rewarding. I had worked for that for so long. I remember going into school the next day. I always tell this story. My buddy Jeff from high school was we grew up together. One of my best friends. We went to school together, and I remember seeing him in the hallway the day after. And like we knew. The only other time that I remember like that moment where
it's like, oh, you become a man, have you?
Yup. It was like that. But the only other time that we, besides killing the Lich King, that we had that moment where it was like we knew, but not everybody else at the school knew, was when he got Valnir. He was a healer, and when he got Valnir, it was a very big deal as well. And I remember going into school the next day, and I was like, man, I don't think all these people know how big your cock is, Jeff. Like, I was like, yeah, like everybody. That was such a profound thing. And that's really also one of the things that started to get me into the lore. Even when I took my break, you know, I started digging around, asking a bunch of these questions. And now all of a sudden I'm in a place where like I have for years have frequented your YouTube channel. Like I've read Chronicle. I talk about lore all the time. Like it's something that I genuinely love in the game. And the way
also
that
actually started in Raw of the Lich King. Funny.
What'd you say?
I also started getting into it in Raw of the Lich King. But for me, it wasn't for the Death of the Lich King. For me, it was the Wrath Gate, like one of the first in-game cinematics. And I was like, ooh, what's going on here? But if you loved like the Lich King showing up or whatnot, they do seem to be going back to it. Because I remember them at some point they mentioned like, yeah, some of the feedback that we got about the Lich King was that he was too much in your face and people didn't like that. Now, with the whole Shadowlands thing, it appears that the Shadowlands, that the jailer is actually the end boss. So it appears that they are going with the whole Raw of the Lich King setting of you're going to meet the end boss right away. It's not a surprise. It's not a, this is what you get. And I'm curious to see how much the jailer is actually going to be playing his part. If the model that's been data mined is actually the jailer, he's going to be massive. It's going to be awesome.
The new stuff is getting me really, really, really hyped. I love like these ideas though about the jailer and not really knowing what the heck is going on with him. I did not know a lot of that was even being asked. I didn't know that there were questions being asked about the jailer. What do you think the hole in his chest is? Not to do the conspiracy theory thing, but what do you think's going on with the jailer?
Oh, it's so hard to say. And what actually sparked like the spark of imagination of okay, what is going on here was that there was recently an interview with Taliesin and one of the Blizzard designers, and they were actually touching upon these little things like, this is a jailer, new character. What about Arthas? But since the guy has no heart, and we currently have a Battle for Azeroth artifact called the Heart of Azeroth. Imagine like that chest opening up and just being like Kirby and eating that necklace so that everybody gets rid of their necklace, or the necklace is going to be bargained or used to get ourselves out of the maw, something like that. Could be potential. I'm personally hoping that we're going to uncover a feud between the Arbiter and the Jailer.
What are kind of the big things that you think people should be paying attention to if they're just getting into the lore now and they're like, I want to actually know what's going on in Shadowlands? Like I want to be a lore nerd now. Teach me, show me the way, senpai. What would you tell those people?
I would tell those people to find something that they are super interested in and build from there. Like for me, I got interested in the Rothgate event, which had characters like Bolvar and Putrus, I think was there. And that's pretty much how I started looking up, like, okay, who is this Bolvar character? And I started putting like the pieces together. Purely going into Shadowlands as a brand new expansion, just go with it. And if you're like, I don't understand who Kilfa Sunstrider is, or I don't understand who Ufra the Lightbringer is, start doing research, like start figuring out where these characters come from. And if they pull in your interest, it's always, when you're interested in something, it's always way easier to learn. And you mentioned this earlier as well, like the story can be a driving factor for you to play the game. And I feel the same at times. Like at times, it's been purely finding out what the next chapter is going to be. But for others, the story will never be a thing. Like I know that there are raiders out there that are like, nah, I don't really care why I'm killing this massive worm. I just want to know what loot I'm going to get, which is fine. It's not going to be for everybody. But if you are interested in it, then I would just say find something that you are really invested in and build from there. Yeah, like Monkey Badger said, there is something suggested that maybe it was furbolgs that like went to the waters. Like you remember in Mist of Pandaria how they explained that the Murlocs became like the Genu, and someone wondering like, are the furbolgs the ones that became the Pandaren? But we don't know for certain.
That is pretty interesting. Yeah, the idea of just like drinking that water. All the smart races just drank the right water.
Magical like, Titan water. All of a sudden they're there.
Just Titan juice, man. Oh, I love it. Like, and so
if we want to use anime, what about Dragon Ball Z and just make her the King Yama and judge his souls and whatnot?
Can I tell you a secret? I am the biggest anime nerd on the entire earth, but I have never watched Dragon Ball Z. I've never done it.
I think I'm done.
I thought you left the call. I heard the disconnect. I heard the disconnect and I thought you actually left the call.
How have you never seen Dragon Ball before? What?
Because I've seen Naruto twice. I feel like you don't need like
you're gonna watch garbage like Naruto, but not Dragon Ball?
No, it's the other way around. I feel like DBZ is like it's Naruto for kids, right? That's always what I thought.
So
wait, it's
Dragon Ball I thought Dragon Ball is amazing. Naruto, they just wave their fingers in the air, whereas in Dragon Ball, you watch 5 episodes of 2 grown-ass men screaming at each other, hitting them twice, and then screaming some more. It is amazing entertainment.
I think that Naruto is one of the best stories ever told, hands down, and it's for adults.
Yeah, sure, it's for adults. Tell yourself.
They're just maybe 200 episodes for kids, and then after that, it's all for adults. Naruto is just random folklore put together. I mean, that's all of the best stories.